Personal interactions revealed deeper changes. Where once Reeves had manipulated environments to survive, now he shaped discussions to make progress inevitable. His famed asteroid facility traps found peaceful parallels, negotiation frameworks where every objection led back to demonstrable data. Former adversaries found themselves advocating positions they'd originally opposed, not through coercion, but because the alternatives looked increasingly irrational. The treaty signing ceremony itself was anticlimactic. Standard Durasteel pens on standard parchments. Reeves signed last, using a stylus he'd fashioned from asteroid facility debris. No one commented on the symbolism. None needed to. Final council briefings showed a curious trend. Officers who'd once advocated harsher measures now casually referenced human-derived tactics in operational planning, not as exceptions, as standard practice. Directive 17's repeal required 17 separate votes. Its principles died from 1,000 small obsolescences. Reeves declined all offers of formal positions. His final act as advisor was redirecting his security detail to protect archives instead. Threats don't just come from outside, he noted while overriding the storage vault protocols. Sometimes they hide in our own filing systems. The guards didn't understand until they found the original. Directive 17 draft containing even harsher measures marked recommended for Phase 2. At the farewell reception, High Minister Kroll made startlingly honest remarks. We feared humans would destabilize our systems. Turns out they just exposed instabilities already present. Reeves raised a glass of reclaimed water purified through human-designed filters. No toast. Just quiet acknowledgement that some progress needs no ceremonial recognition. Rumors placed Reeves on a transport bound for the Haven colonies next morning. Station logs show he left something behind, an unmarked data crystal in the Central Archives public terminal. Security scans revealed no military secrets, just 17,000 human scientific papers the Council had suppressed. The access counter hit 6 digits within hours. Last confirmed sighting showed Reeves at a remote way station, helping repair a malfunctioning replicator. Not as a celebrity or diplomat, just another technician troubleshooting faulty components. The station master reported he fixed the issue using parts from a child's educational kit. When asked why it worked, Reeves allegedly shrugged. Constraints breed better solutions, then build them exactly half what Council-licensed engineers would have. Charged. Council observers noted an uptick in human-inspired innovation across civilian sectors in subsequent cycles. No mandates required it. No directives encouraged it. Just individuals realizing that tools and ideas work best when allowed to evolve without unnecessary restrictions. The ultimate testament to Reeves's approach might be how quietly the galaxy adapted once someone demonstrated there was another way. New patrol recruits now study the asteroid facility incident as a case study in asymmetrical problem solving. The exam questions have changed, though. No more how would you contain this threat, now they ask, how would you redirect this? Ingenuity. Academy instructors report the best answers come mixed teams, human and galactic cadets working through scenarios together. The refitted patrol cruiser where this began, Officer Nex's tactical console displays a new insignia beside her station. No official citation explains the asteroid fragment mounted there. Crew rumors suggest it's a piece of the facility where 12 learned they weren't hunting one human. They were being taught by one. The fragment's surface bears a single engraved line, Reeves's alleged last transmission before surrendering to negotiations. Not a threat, an observation. You can't regulate curiosity, only deprive yourself of its fruits. Supply manifests show the cruiser now carries human-designed repair kits standard. Maintenance logs credit them with 17 successful field fixes in the past cycle. One particular toolkit vanishes frequently. Investigations always find it eventually, borrowed by some officer solving a problem outside standard protocols. The chief engineer stopped filing reports. Some adaptations don't need paperwork. Galactic news feeds occasionally speculate about Reeves's whereabouts. Human colonies tell conflicting stories. He's retired, he's consulting, he's teaching engineering on some frontier moon. The only verifiable fact comes from procurement records. 5 separate systems have purchased asteroid mining facilities for educational purposes. All incorporate design elements suspiciously reminiscent of that infamous trap. The sales brochures call them interactive learning environments. Students just call them fun. Final confirmation of the shift came from an unexpected quarter. Council archivists recently declassified early human observation reports. Buried amid paranoid assessments was one field agent's prescient note: "They don't conquer, they compost." 70 cycles later, that metaphor plays out in recycling initiatives blending human and galactic waste processing techniques. The resulting fertilizer grows hybrid crops no single culture could have developed alone. On the edge of former disputed territory, a new station orbits peacefully. Its construction borrowed equally from galactic engineering and human improvisation. The dedication plaque bears no famous names, just statistics on collaborative efficiency gains. Visitors often miss the smaller inscription below the numbers. It quotes no statesman, just an unattributed line: "Change grows from choices, not commands." Staff claim the handwriting looks familiar. None can quite place it. Deep in the central archives, one terminal remains perpetually logged under a priority access code. Screen history shows regular searches for human technology adoption rates. The last query, run yesterday, tracked Council resource allocations to former Directive 17 colonies. The numbers trend steadily upward. Whoever uses that terminal leaves no notes, just a single outdated mining company ID card waiting down the keyboard. Back on the refitted patrol cruiser, Officer Nex, now Commander, sometimes surveys her mixed-species bridge crew. When tactical scenarios grow tense, she'll toss them impossible constraints deliberately. Watching cadets turn limitations into advantages never gets old. The truly promising ones start doing it before being prompted. She keeps the asteroid fragment polished, but otherwise doesn't comment on it. Some lessons transmit best without lectures. Just the occasional pointed glance when someone declares a situation hopeless. Final reports from the frontier describe peaceful expansion. No dramatic upheavals, just quiet integration of human problem-solving into galactic standard practices. No monuments commemorate Directive 17's repeal, but engineers across 12 systems now use a borrowed human phrase when facing tough challenges: work the problem. The origins hardly matter. The results speak plainly enough. Station security footage from last cycle shows a repair technician fixing a malfunctioning diplomatic comm array. His techniques don't match any standard training. When the console sparks unexpectedly, he laughs exactly once before resolving the issue with parts from his lunch container. The resolution takes precisely 17 seconds, 10 faster than protocol allows. The technician leaves no identification, just a perfectly functional system and a food wrapper recycled into an improvised circuit guard. The wrapper's origin is unmistakable: Haven Colony polymer markings. Somewhere in the sprawl of thriving cross-species settlements, similar small moments play out daily. None make galactic headlines. Together they form a quiet revolution no single policy could ever mandate or prevent. The math is simple once shown. Add human adaptability to galactic infrastructure, subtract unnecessary constraints, and solutions emerge organically. Tracking beacons on the refitted patrol cruiser ping steadily during routine patrols. Their signals bounce off hundreds of former human containment facilities, now serving as joint research hubs. The tactical displays don't show threats anymore, just progress spreading at light speed. Officer Nex sometimes smiles at the monitor when no one's looking. The expression looks suspiciously like the one Reeves wore while tearing apart their assumptions all those cycles ago. Not triumph, just quiet appreciation for systems functioning as intended. Final sector scans reveal one anomaly: an unregistered signal from deep within the asteroid belt where this began. Its encryption matches old mining colony distress codes, but the content isn't a call for help. It's a single repeating loop of a human folk song about homecoming. Patrol analysts debate whether to investigate. Commander Nex has reportedly ordered the signal left undisturbed. Some messages don't require responses, just acknowledgement that they're received. The scanners confirm the signal's origin, precisely where that infamous facility once orbited. Yet optical readings show empty space. Whatever's transmitting has no physical form the galaxy recognizes. The Galactic Patrol learned the hard way. Never corner a Deathworlder isn't about firepower. It's about predictability. Their containment protocols became Reeves's tactical manual. Every forced retreat, every sealed bulkhead just proved how thoroughly he'd studied their playbook. Now, that playbook's archived under historical curiosities. The patrol's failure birthed something better: hybrid protocols blending human improvisation with galactic discipline. Directive 17's repeal took 17 votes. Its obsolescence took one engineer repurposing their own systems against them. Final scans show the asteroid facility gone. Just an old comm relay broadcasting human folk songs. No threats, no demands. Just a reminder that predators make poor enemies but excellent teachers. The galaxy's quieter now, smarter too. Turns out humans didn't need conquering, just understanding. Livic's response was textbook suppression protocol. He demanded editorial control over all future publications. Next released the original research draft publicly 15 minutes later. The ensuing scandal lasted precisely as long as it took for 3 colony governors to implement her proposed negotiation frameworks, with measurable success. Internal memos reveal the Council's dilemma. Nex wasn't a reformer arguing policy. She was a tactician proving better operational outcomes. When human settlements using her communication protocols resolved disputes 40% faster, even traditionalists took notice. The division's budget doubled quietly. The real shift came during the Haven 12 mediation. Standard Council procedure demanded 24 separate authorization layers for colony negotiations. Next sent one junior analyst with a human-designed compromise template. The resulting treaty was imperfect, pragmatic, and ratified in record time. Most telling, both sides claimed partial victory. Livic's final protest occurred during Nex's first command briefing. This isn't protocol. Nex didn't argue. She simply displayed 2 images, the patrol ship's tactical readout during the Reeves incident and current human-civilian collaborative projects. The patterns matched perfectly. What humans did to survive under constraints, they now did to thrive without them. Division headquarters received an unusual shipment the following week, human-designed interface upgrades for their analysis terminals. The packaging contained no note, just a single outdated galactic patrol insignia. Nex had it mounted in the lobby beside the first draft of the repealed Directive 17. Final confirmation of Nex's influence came through personnel records. 73% of division staff now came from non-traditional backgrounds. Merchant fleet navigators, civilian scientists, even 2 former human colony administrators. Their common trait? Documented success solving problems outside standard parameters. The Council's annual review concealed the transformation behind bland terminology. Operational streamlining, cross-disciplinary, integration. Only the budget. Codes told the truth. Funding had quietly shifted from suppression tech to education exchanges. Nex's private terminal received an encrypted message during the budget hearings. No text, just an audio file. Reeves laughing during their first standoff on KX-94. The accompanying metadata showed it recorded from patrol ship sensors. Whoever sent it had accessed systems deeper than official channels allowed. Division analysts noted a curious pattern the next morning. Council members debating human-related policy increasingly used phrases like creative solutions and adaptive frameworks. The linguistic shift correlated precisely with the adoption of Nex's assessment models. Nobody mentioned that these terms originated in human pedagogical texts. Livic's resignation surprised nobody. His replacement came from the division's own ranks, a logistics officer whose supply chain innovations borrowed heavily from human swarm robotics. The handover ceremony lasted exactly 47 seconds. Nex served Tang tea again. The division's first public symposium attracted unexpected attention. Scholars from 17 species presented papers on human-inspired problem-solving. Security footage shows Nex observing from the rear, taking notes in a human-style bound notebook. The last page contained just 2 lines. "They're not studying us anymore. We're learning how to learn from them." Reeves's formal pardon arrived 3 days later. The document's phrasing was telling, not an admission of error, but recognition of exceptional service to galactic stability. Nex's only comment appeared in the margin of her copy. Directive 18, never corner a teacher. The division's headquarters underwent renovations the following month. Workers removed several interior walls, creating open collaborative spaces modeled after human research hubs. The builders followed Terran architectural plans exactly, except for one modification. All doors were slightly wider than standard. Just enough space, as Nex noted in her requisition, for unpredictable exits. The formal pardon came through on day 287 of Reeves's fugitive status. Galactic standard bureaucracy operates at its own glacial pace. The document's phrasing danced around admitting fault. Extraordinary circumstances and reconciliation efforts papered over the simple fact that the council had no remaining leverage. Reeves stepped off the transport onto Central Command's docks, wearing the same mining colony coveralls he'd escaped in. The security detail assigned to escort him to diplomatic quarters looked visibly uncomfortable. They'd trained for violent radicals, not a calm technician carrying a duffel of salvaged equipment. Reeves's transition played out across 3 strategic phases. Phase 1 involved letting the council save face. He attended 7 closed-door debriefings without once mentioning Directive 17 by name. Phase 2 systematically dismantled their remaining objections. When Trade Minister Vex argued human colonies couldn't be trusted with advanced fabricators, Reeves produced records showing 17 cases of humans repairing council tech deemed beyond salvage. The minister's subsequent backtracking lasted precisely as long as it took for Reeves to display the minister's own signature, approving those same repairs in marginalized systems. The actual negotiation sessions defied all diplomatic norms. Reeves arrived without prepared statements or position papers. His sole concession to protocol was wearing a freshly pressed version of his old engineering uniform. Counselors expecting fiery rhetoric got supply chain analyses instead. When Defense Chair Kroll demanded restrictions on human neural interfaces, Reeves projected side-by-side schematics, the Council's safe designs alongside unshackled human versions. The energy efficiency differential silenced the chamber for 18 seconds. Resistance came in predictable forms. Traditionalists cited 73 regulations requiring gradual integration periods. Reeves responded with efficiency metrics from human colony joint ventures. The numbers didn't lie. Every collaborative project exceeded its benchmarks. Old guard diplomats attempted procedural delays until Reeves distributed a 16-step flowchart showing how their own bureaucracy could approve emergency measures when sufficiently motivated. He'd helpfully highlighted the relevant precedents. Psychological adaptation proved harder than policy shifts. Senior officers kept waiting for the other boot to drop. Their tactical models still categorized humans as volatile elements requiring containment. Reeves addressed this by introducing them to Dr. Lemov, a human behavioral specialist whose research on constraint-driven innovation had been suppressed under Directive 17. Her presentation contained 57 documented cases of humans solving galactic-scale problems using only basic tools. The kicker: each solution had later been adopted by Council forces without attribution. The real turning point came during a logistics standoff. The Council wanted human settlements to adopt standardized resource trackers. Reeves didn't argue. He simply installed both systems in parallel at the neutral station hosting negotiations. Within 48 hours, the human network had absorbed and optimized the Council's entire inventory database, despite having 1/10 the processing power. Watching seasoned quartermasters discover features they'd spent cycles requesting and being told were impossible did more for integration than any treaty. Reeves's masterstroke came during the Education Accords debate. Council elders insisted on vetting human instructional materials for dangerous concepts. His response was deceptively simple, a live demonstration where human and galactic students jointly solved engineering challenges. The Council's prize graduates deployed textbook methodologies. The humans treated constraints as adjustable variables. Final scoring showed the mixed teams outperformed both homogeneous groups by margins that forced curriculum revisions across 9 systems. Interpersonal dynamics shifted almost imperceptibly. Where Reeves once entered rooms to wary silence, now junior diplomats clustered near his seating position, not for favor, to overhear his quiet asides cutting through bureaucratic inertia. His reputation for unconventional solutions spread in practical ways. When station engineers hit an impossible drainage problem, someone inevitably muttered, "What would Reeves jury-rig?" The Council's last procedural roadblock collapsed over something as mundane as waste reclamation protocols. Human methods achieved 93% material recovery versus the galactic standard 78%. Traditionalists argued the difference came from unacceptable risk-taking, until Reeves played security footage of Council sanitation crews quietly adopting human techniques months prior. Innovation, it turned out, spread fastest when labeled as something else entirely. Reeves hadn't needed to defeat the patrol. He convinced them to stand aside while the galaxy listened. The transmission began at 0347, Galactic Standard Time. Every public screen in 17 systems flickered to life simultaneously. Not just major hubs, but mining outposts, merchant vessels, even planetary weather displays. Reeves hadn't hacked the galactic networks. He'd turned their own infrastructure into a signal repeater. Captain Terran's patrol ship registered the interference first. Communication arrays normally filtering 12,000 channels started routing everything through a single compressed data stream. Attempts to block it triggered cascading failures across relay stations. Standard protocol dictated immediate jamming maneuvers. None worked. The signal wasn't broadcasting. It was reflecting off every connected device in range. Council Security Director Livik's response came 7 minutes later. Standard denial templates flooded authorized channels. Ignore unauthorized transmissions, classified. Drill in progress on terrorist fabrication. The OED damage control scripts that had worked for 17 cycles fell flat against Reeves's presentation. Because he didn't just leak. Directive 17. He showcased it. Every document appeared with full verification stamps, edit histories, even deliberation recordings where ministers discussed acceptable human cognitive limits. Side-by-side comparisons showed colony, reports before and after council, adjustments. Grainy surveillance footage depicted patrol officers replacing high-yield crops with council-approved variants. Human settlements reacted fastest. Haven 12's public archives updated within minutes, not with protests but with meticulously documented evidence of their own. Agricultural logs proving suppressed yields. Medical reports showing how approved pharmaceuticals dulled cognitive functions. Years of data no single fugitive could have compiled. The Council's second mistake became apparent by 0412. Their censors assumed humans would rage against overt oppression. Instead, engineers across 12 colonies began circulating technical analyses of Directive 17's economic impacts. Dry, methodical breakdowns of resource allocation discrepancies. The outrage came later. First came the forensic accounting. Admiral Pratt's containment protocols backfired spectacularly. Fleet vessels dispatched to restore order found themselves tracked by civilian sensor nets, not hidden surveillance, open crowdsourcing of their movements. Freighters rerouted to avoid patrols' uploaded coordinates in real time. The more pressure the Council applied, the tighter the observational net became. High Minister Kroll's private emergency session lasted 19 minutes. Transcripts leaked before adjournment. Key exchange. We cannot erase what's already in their fabrication units. The realization struck hard. Humans weren't just receiving data. They were manufacturing the means to spread it. By dawn on 3 Central Worlds, 74 documented cases emerged of humans jury-rigging household appliances into signal boosters. Not sophisticated tech. Toasters, environmental controls, even children's entertainment pods reconfigured as transmission nodes. Directive 17's authors had assumed control over advanced manufacturing. They never considered what determined minds could do with basic tools. The Council's communications team made their critical error at 0533. Official bulletins referred to unauthorized disclosure of partial archives. The phrasing triggered automated cross-referencing across academic databases. Scholars at the Verano Institute published a concordance within 8 minutes. Every redacted term in the Council's statement matched known gaps in human-related research. Medical stations reported unusual phenomena. Human patients on cognitive regulators began bypassing dosage locks, not through force, by identifying 16-step workarounds the pharmaceutical designers hadn't anticipated. Nurses logged 63 cases before stopping. The procedures had already disseminated through hospital maintenance channel chats. Patrol Officer Nex monitored the cascade from her tactical station. The data pouring in painted an uncomfortable pattern. Every Council attempt at suppression created new distribution channels. When central banks froze accounts funding human tech projects, cryptocurrency ledgers updated with donation addresses. When network hubs blocked, the promotion ceremony lasted precisely 47 seconds. Galactic Council standard for disciplinary reassignments disguised as honors. Officer Zeldra Nex stood at attention while High Minister Krell pinned the new insignia to her carapace. The metal felt colder than regulations required. Across the chamber, Director Livik's mandibles twitched in barely concealed irritation. Nobody mentioned that Nex's warnings about human behavior had been formally recorded and ignored 18 times prior. The newly formed Division of Non-Standard Threat Analysis occupied what had been Directive 17's archival wing. NEX's first order cleared the remaining suppression algorithms from the database. Her second requisitioned every patrol recording involving humans from the past decade. The third raised bureaucratic eyebrows, an open request for civilian scholars specializing in Death World evolutionary psychology. Council observers noted disturbing patterns in NEX's methodology. Unlike standard threat assessment protocols focusing on weapons and troop movements, her team diagrammed human problem-solving behaviors, how escape pod survivors repurposed wreckage, which settlements exceeded production quotas despite equipment shortages. Even cultural artifacts like children's games revealing strategic thinking patterns. Livik's first objection arrived within hours. "This is anthropology, not security work." NEX's response circulated quietly among junior officers. 15 documented cases where conventional threat models failed to predict human actions, versus 3 where anthropological framing proved accurate. The attached files included her own pre-mission warnings about Reeves and their subsequent validation. Equipment requests told the real story. Standard divisions ordered weapon scanners and neural disruptors. NEX's team requisitioned civilian tech blueprints, human engineering journals, even entertainment media. Their secure lab accumulated oddities. A human puzzle box modified to store encryption keys, a children's building set jury-rigged into a circuit tester. Director Livik nearly vetoed the most damning acquisition, a complete set of Galactic Patrol training manuals annotated by human prisoners. The margin notes alone justified NEX's promotion. Initial resistance came in predictable forms. Budget committees misplaced funding approvals. Senior tacticians dismissed findings as academic curiosities. Then NEX's team demonstrated how human colony disaster response protocols contained implicit combat mobilization sequences. How children's mathematics education overlapped with basic artillery calculations. The patterns became undeniable. Everything about human development cultivated strategic adaptability. Livik attempted containment by assigning NEX 2 assistants from internal compliance. Their reports back made uncomfortable reading. NEX wasn't just studying humans. She was replicating their tactics. Division analysts trained using human war games. Logistics officers solved resource problems with human economic models. When compliance officers tried accessing the main research database, they hit a security wall quoting Directive 17's own classification protocols. The turning point came during crisis simulations. Standard scenarios pitted cadets against numerically superior foes. NEX's human-derived exercises presented insoluble problems, then scored candidates on how creatively they failed. Cadets originally from human colonies consistently outperformed others, not through strength or speed, by treating constraints as adjustable parameters. High Minister Krell's visit followed unexpected channels. No official summons, just a private dinner in the division's observation deck overlooking the capital. 2 hours of pointed questions about human innovation thresholds. NEX served Tang tea in Terran-style handleless cups. She didn't need to mention the porcelain's origin. Human ceramics had been on the restricted list until 3 weeks prior. Security logs show Livik accessed NEX's personal files that night. What he found explained little, just a junior officer's unremarkable service history with one anomaly. 18 reprimands for unsanctioned analytical methods, the same number as her pre-Reeves warnings about human behavior. Division analysts worked through the next planetary rotation. Their report dropped at dawn, 97 pages with 2 actionable findings. First, current galactic conflict models couldn't accurately predict human reactions. Second, this wasn't a flaw in humans but in the models themselves. The appendices contained field manuals rewritten using human-derived frameworks. Crew stations began flickering with unauthorized alerts. Not system failures, memory triggers. Patrol officers suddenly recalling past missions to human settlements. Agricultural assistance that involved confiscating high-yield crops. Infrastructure inspections targeting independent power grids. The pattern became undeniable beneath the paperwork. Terran's command console received a priority alert. Council override codes demanded immediate memory purging. The screen flashed standard compliance warnings, except someone had edited the galactic emblem. The 12 stars now formed a crude noose around a humanoid silhouette. Nex's tactical scanners pinged with movement from the asteroid facility. Thermal signatures showed gas canisters venting in precise sequence, not toward the patrol ship, into sealed chambers Reeves had lured them into earlier. He'd trapped them without firing a shot, using environmental controls the Council had insisted humans couldn't master. Xel isolated the security footage Reeves had piggybacked on their emergency band. The timestamp showed his gas trap, activating exactly as Terran quoted, Directive 17's preamble about protecting galactic harmony. The synchronization wasn't accidental. New document appeared across all terminals. Not Council letterhead, handwritten observations by a human engineer detailing how to bypass fabrication locks. Dated 3 cycles before patrol forces arrested him for technology violations. The sketches showed elegant workarounds the Council had subsequently outlawed. Drell's engineering panel suddenly accessed restricted archives. Maintenance logs from a dozen human colonies revealed consistent patterns. Every technological leap followed by increased patrol inspections. Every innovation met with sanctions or safety recalls. The correlation graphs climbed like seismic readings before an eruption. Terran's secondary eyes kept flicking toward the compliance button. His primary gaze remained fixed on the crew. 12 officers, 9 of whom had human colony postings in their service records, suddenly reassessed through Directive 17's lens. The bridge lighting stabilized at 18%, unofficial patrol code for moral event horizon. Nex finally voiced what the data screamed. We weren't keeping peace. We were maintaining quotas. Her tactical feed updated with a final notation from Reeves, just galactic coordinates, a human settlement called Haven 12. The first colony to refuse patrol inspections 15 cycles prior. Terran's claws hovered above the memory purge command. Standard procedure. Except Reeves had shown them something worse than deception. Truths hiding in plain sight. Their own systems contained damning evidence no mere fugitive could plant. Xel's security console resolved one last puzzle. Reeves' gas canisters in the facility, non-lethal by design. He demonstrated maximum control with minimum harm. Meanwhile, Directive 17's appendices casually discussed mass sterilization protocols for overproductive human settlements. The patrol ship's comm crackled unexpectedly. Not Council frequencies, a civilian band from Haven 12. No words, just sounds. Children laughing against background noise of machinery the Council had banned. 3.4 seconds of uncompressed audio that slipped past every firewall. Engineering Officer Drell made his choice first. His panel lit up as he manually disabled the memory purge sequencers. No dramatic pronouncements, just practical defiance, protecting data the way they should have protected people. Terran's command console flashed red. Council override protocols demanded compliance. The captain studied his crew's readouts. 12 officers, 9 with human colony experience, 3 looking at him with ocular ridges raised in silent challenge. The facility schematics on Nex's display updated in real time. Gas canister detonations had followed patrol containment patterns perfectly. Non-lethal demonstrations of how thoroughly Reeves understood their tactics. He'd humiliated them without casualties because killing would have undermined his point. Xel found Reese's last note buried in security logs. Check the vault. 3 words that opened an entire classified archive of Council intelligence briefings. Human technological advances labeled existential threats. Peaceful settlements marked for heightened surveillance. The date stretched back before Directive 17's official ratification. The bridge fell silent except for life support hums. 12 officers. 12 terminals displaying truths they couldn't unsee. Terran's claws retracted slowly. When he finally touched his console, it wasn't for the purge command. Open a channel to Haven 12, he ordered. Standard frequencies. No encryption. Let the Council monitor what came next. Reeves's final transmission had included more than evidence. It contained Haven 12's public library access codes, the ones patrol forces had shut down for unapproved information. Terran's console now displayed their current contents. Technical journals, medical research, agricultural breakthroughs, all developed under sanctions, all uploaded the day Reeves escaped custody. Engineering Officer Drell exhaled through his ventilation spiracles. The sound carried across the silent bridge. His display showed the patrol ship's fabrication units analyzing newly unlocked schematics, human-designed upgrades for their own systems. Every innovation the Council had suppressed. Nock's tactical scanners pinged again. Movement at the abandoned facility, not Reeves. Automated systems coming online in careful sequence. Solar arrays aligning. Communications dishes recalibrating. The structure wasn't just reactivating. It was preparing for transmission. Terran entered his command codes carefully. Not for the Council. For shipwide address. 12 officers waited as the system authenticated. The moment stretched like a predator poised to strike. Then the captain did something unprecedented in patrol history. He ordered full disclosure, every recovered file, every unlocked log, compiled for public broadcast. Not through official channels. Via the same compromised frequencies Reeves had used. The asteroid facility's comm array flared to life. Every dish and transmitter aimed at known human colonies, standard relay stations, even unregistered listening posts. Its power signature swelled far beyond design specs, another innovation the Council had deemed impossible. Drell's panel updated with startling clarity. The facility wasn't just transmitting data. It had reconfigured itself into a signal amplifier, capable of overriding standard galactic bandwidth restrictions. Reeves hadn't merely escaped. He'd built a truth bomb. Nex watched the countdown on her tactical display. 3 minutes until transmission. 2 until the Council could scramble jamming signals. She made no move to alert command. Neither did anyone else. Terran's console received a priority override from Central Command. The Council emblem pulsed angrily. Message headers screamed maximum classification. The captain left it unanswered, watching instead as Drell routed facility telemetry to every screen. One by one, patrol stations switched from standard ops to monitoring the broadcast array. No discussion, no debate, just 12 officers choosing which version of reality to endorse. Regional governors would later call it the greatest security breach in galactic history. But in that moment, aboard a patrol cruiser supposed to enforce Directive 17, the only sound was hardware humming as it prepared to disseminate forbidden knowledge at scale. The facility's transmission beacon went active. Across 17 systems, restricted channels suddenly carried uncensored data streams. Haven 12's library. Reeves recovered documents. Even the patrol's own damning mission logs. .com chatter erupted across civilian bands. First confusion, then outrage, then something the Council hadn't anticipated. Coordinated response protocols from supposedly disconnected human settlements. Drell's engineering panel reflected in his ocular lenses. Fabrication units ticked down the seconds until they could produce newly unlocked components. Not weapons. Never weapons. Information relays powerful enough to sustain the broadcast through any jamming attempt. The patrol ship's official log would later describe sophisticated enemy hacking. The truth was simpler. 12 officers chose not to stop what they finally understood. As dawn broke over Haven 12, their sensors detected the first ships rising from the surface. Unarmed, unstoppable, carrying nothing but copies of truths too long suppressed. The captain's console beeped with an incoming priority message. Council Commander Yix's authorization codes flashed urgently. Disregard all unsanctioned transmissions. Return to base immediately for neural sweep and debrief. Standard damage control procedures. Except now the patrol recognized the phrasing from Directive 17's contingency protocols verbatim. Reeves' voice cut through the silence. I'll save you the trouble. His feed switched to show a council meeting transcript dated 6 cycles prior. High Minister Kroll's words scrolled across every display. The human problem requires permanent solutions. Directive 17 was never meant to be temporary containment. Next, notice the timestamp first. The meeting occurred 3 days after patrol teams received their initial mission briefing. Terran's orders had come preloaded with Reeves's profile marked high-risk ingenuity. Now, they understood the Council's definition of ingenuity, constituted a threat requiring suppression. Equipment logs told the damning secondary story. The patrol ship's own fabricators carried restriction codes, preventing replication of certain technologies. Cross-referencing these against Directive 17's contraband items list revealed perfect matches. Their own tools came hobbled by the same policies they'd been enforcing unknowingly. Engineering Officer Drell made the connection first. The asteroid facility, their sensor nets, He pulled up schematics showing standard patrol issue scanners. Reeves hadn't hacked their equipment. He'd exploited blind spots deliberately engineered into human-adjacent technology. Council-mandated software limitations created vulnerabilities. Only someone conditioned to work around constant restrictions would recognize. A new document appeared marked eyes-only genetic containment. Protocols, detailed charts mapped human neurochemistry against acceptable galactic baselines. Red markers highlighted dopamine response curves and cortisol levels as aberrant evolutionary adaptations. Footnotes recommended pharmaceutical interventions to normalize stress response thresholds. Nex's hands moved faster than her conscious thoughts. Her console lit up with comparative cultural analyses drawn from patrol archives. Human colonies showed systematically lower productivity yields than comparable species, despite superior equipment. Now the reason became clear. They'd been given intentionally inefficient tools while being measured against populations operating at full technological capacity. Reeves's transmission ended with a simple data point. Patrol records listed his home colony as marginally productive, Tier 3 development. The original survey data told a different story. Assessors had noted unsanctioned innovation exceeding parameters before downgrading the rating. Near-perfect crop yields became resource management violations. Energy-efficient housing designs became non-compliant structural norms. Captain Terran finally spoke 8 minutes into silent review. This changes nothing about our current mission parameters. The words sounded hollow even to himself. Around the bridge, 12 officers avoided eye contact while their displays continued flashing damning evidence. Nex isolated one recurring Directive 17 clause. Maintain illusion of fair integration. Accompanying note stressed the importance of keeping humans believing their struggles resulted from natural limitations rather than engineered constraints. The tactical implications settled over her like a toxic gas. Their entire patrol division might exist primarily as stage dressing for this charade. Drell's engineering panel lit up with an unauthorized alert. The ship's fabrication units had quietly unlocked 17 previously restricted schematics. All matched technologies humans were prohibited from developing independently. No hack triggered this. Reeves had simply transmitted galactic standard override codes the Council never distributed to patrol forces. Lieutenant Zell's security scan revealed deeper layers. Directive 17 contained self-erasing protocols designed to purge incriminating sections if accessed improperly. Reeves hadn't just leaked documents. He'd captured pristine copies before these safeguards activated. The version now spreading through patrol systems was fundamentally different than what the Council's own archives contained. Tactical Officer Vex made the final connection. Our mission briefing packet. She reconstructed deleted sections showing Reeves originally flagged not for arrest, but for re-education. Standard procedure for Directive 17 violators. The patrol had been sent not to retrieve a fugitive, but to deliver one into the Council's most secretive rehabilitation program. Silence stretched as implications crystallized. Every officer aboard had participated in hundreds of human-related operations. How many involved enforcing restrictions they didn't know existed? How many rescues extracted colonists from situations the Council engineered? Reeves's final transmission contained no taunts, no demands, just a single audio file. Council Subminister Pell's voice recited, Directive 17's founding principle, human ingenuity must be artificially depressed to sustainable levels matching baseline galactic norms. The date stamp placed this recording 3 hours before their patrol received orders to hunt him down. Nex's console pinged with an incoming priority alert. Command demanded immediate status verification. Standard procedure when operations lasted beyond projected timetables. 12 pairs of eyes turned toward Captain Terran. His fingers hovered over the response panel. The truth sat heavy in the air between them. They couldn't unsee what Reeves had shown them. The ship's scanners registered sudden movement from the abandoned asteroid facility. Thermal signatures showed multiple systems powering up in sequence. Not random reactivation, a timed sequence matching countdown marks in the Directive 17 files. Reeves had left them one last demonstration. Every system he'd repurposed to humiliate them had originally been designed to keep humans compliant. Terran input his authorization code slowly. The response field blinked expectantly. Around him, officers waited to see which version of events their captain would choose to report. 5 light-years away, unknown to any of them, identical data packets began appearing on civilian news networks across 17 human colonies. Nex quietly archived every document before Command could issue memory purge orders. The files locked themselves behind triple encryption protocols she'd never seen before. Standard patrol training didn't cover these particular security measures, but Directive 17's appendices did. They were human-designed. The bridge lights flickered at precisely 23% intensity, galactic standard for ethical crisis debriefings. Captain Terran's claws tapped in irregular rhythm against his command console. Directive 17 falls under classified planetary stabilization protocols, he recited. The words tasted like recycled oxygen. Human cognitive patterns demonstrate unsustainable innovation curves requiring. His vocal processors glitched. Administrative adjustments. Officer Nex didn't bother hiding her mandible twitch. She pulled up Section 9 on the main display, the page where council linguists had replaced oppression with guided development. Her tactical feed still showed 12 pulsing dots representing patrol officers. 12 life signs versus 1 human who'd turned their own facility against them. The math bothered her more than the defeat. Engineering Officer Drell found the first contradiction. This restriction list matches our own equipment limitations. His claws traced fabrication constraints in their ship's database, identical to those imposed on human colonies. The realization spread like coolant leaks. They weren't just enforcing Directive 17. They'd been living under its sister policies. Lieutenant Zell's security panel pinged. Reeves had left something in their systems, not malware, but a comparison chart. Human colony productivity metrics when given full tech access versus council-approved tools. The differential exceeded 400%, not scattered anomalies. Consistent underperformance by design. The directive prevents resource imbalance, Terran insisted. His secondary eyes kept glancing at the emergency purge controls. Standard procedure required deleting compromised data. Standard procedure hadn't accounted for files that replicated themselves whenever accessed. Nex opened the behavioral conditioning appendices. Dry clinical terminology outlined population control methods she'd only seen in historic texts about fallen empires, mate pairing initiatives, pharmaceutical dampening of undesirable neurochemistry, all wrapped in bureaucratic euphemisms about sustainability. Drell made a sound like grinding gears. His engineering readout showed 17 previously locked schematics now accessible, human modifications to standard galactic tech. Each innovation solved problems the Council claimed were unsolvable within approved parameters. The dates stretched back decades. Alarms sounded as primary reactors hit critical overload, not enough to breach containment, just sufficient to force emergency protocols. That's when the patrol learned another human behavioral constant. They never waste good leverage. Comms activated across all channels simultaneously. Every officer heard Reeves' final transmission perfectly. Now that I have your attention, silence fell across the patrol's comm channels with surgical precision. Not the crackling void of equipment failure, the deliberate hush of someone holding their breath before speaking. Across 12 separate locations in the facility, officers froze mid-motion. Their helmet displays flashed identical warnings. Signal jamming active, not disruption. Not interference. Selective channel control belonged to deep space naval tactics, not fugitive operations manuals. Then the voice came. You've been remarkably patient. Reeves sounded like someone discussing weather patterns. Let's discuss terms. Frequency analyzers wavered between 3 readings. Main comms array, disabled. Secondary relay overloaded. And an unidentified third signal piggybacking on emergency beacon protocols. Standard patrol doctrine dictated immediate tracer protocols. Their systems couldn't isolate the source. Every attempted scan returned facility schematics marked with 12 pulsing dots, their own positions. Captain Terran's glove hovered over his sidearm. What do you want, human? Static swallowed the challenge. The voice continued as if he hadn't spoken. Your dropship's neural core runs on Mark 7 splicers. Quaint tech. A pause calculated to let the implication settle. I've been chatting with its firewalls for 18 minutes. Engineering diagnostics claim 0 anomalies. Funny how that works. Officer Nex's environmental scanner pinged. a temperature shift near the ceiling vents. She made no sudden movements. Pointless when Reeves clearly had eyes on every patrol member simultaneously. The ultimatum landed with clinical simplicity. 10 minutes to board your ship. 9 to reach safe distance. No threats followed. No demands. Just a countdown ticking against 12 visor displays that shouldn't have been accessible to an unenhanced primate. Patrol training emphasized response protocols for hostage situations, ransom demands, even suicide charges. Nothing addressed an adversary offering free passage off his own battlefield. Lieutenant Exel found the first physical confirmation in Sector D9. A maintenance panel hung open, revealing rewired circuitry. Not sabotaged, repurposed. Emergency lighting controls now fed into the main comm array. Atmospheric sensors tied directly to door servos. The schematic made sense in retrospect. Reeves hadn't hacked their systems. He'd made the facility an extension of his own nervous system. 8 minutes 30, the voice noted. 12 officers heard the subtle shift, floor vibrations translating through structural supports to whatever makeshift microphone he'd engineered. Captain Terran's attempt to rally faltered against the math. Standard breach protocol dictated holding positions until reinforcements arrived. Reeves had anticipated this. The patrol's emergency beacon showed green status lights, while secretly transmitting an all-clear signal. No rescue team would launch for another 93 minutes. What undid them wasn't the threat. It was the courtesy. I'll even give you a head start, Reeves continued. Several compartments away, bulkhead doors wind open in perfect sequence, a breadcrumb trail toward the docking bay. Thermal scans later confirmed the brilliance. Each escape route funneled patrol members past critical systems now under Reeves's control. The message was implicit. Your retreat happens on my terms. Officer Vex's team discovered the coup de grace in an otherwise empty storage bay. A dismantled patrol helmet sat atop a crate, its neural interface spliced into the facility's primary power grid. The visor displayed real-time tactical data for all 12 officers. What chilled wasn't the surveillance, it was the handwritten note taped beside the helmet's shattered faceplate. Thanks for the upgrades. 7 minutes in, the psychological leverage became undeniable. No officer had seen Reeves since entering the facility. Yet every step, every aborted attempt to establish alternate comms, every weapon check registered immediate feedback through environmental adjustments. Ventilation cycles sped up when officers moved too slowly toward exits. Door mechanisms jammed when anyone deviated from the prescribed path. Captain Terran's final resistance lasted 17 seconds. He reached the dropship's boarding ramp only to find its access panel flashing an unfamiliar glyph, a human numeral 1, superimposed over galactic standard warnings. The ship's external speakers played back his own voice from earlier mission briefings. Subdue the target with minimal force. The irony hung thicker than the anesthetic gas still clinging to his uniform. Nex boarded last with her scanner active. The readings confirmed what they'd all suspected. Reeves remained stationary in central control the entire time. His heat signature hadn't moved. Yet the facility had responded to their presence like a living organism swatting pests. Gravity plating hummed as the dropship disengaged. 12 officers watched the asteroid shrink on their view screens. None mentioned the final transmission that cut through encrypted channels as their engines powered up. A 2-second burst of human laughter, tempo matched to the ship's core ignition sequence. Mercy. Stings worse when you realize it wasn't necessary. The patrol's post-mission report would list 14 structural weak points where Reeves could have trapped them permanently. 23 systems. The patrol's dropship had barely cleared the asteroid when Reeves transmitted the files. 12 identical data packets appeared simultaneously on each officer's display, too clean for a standard information dump. Galactic encryption protocols should have prevented unsanctioned transfers. Yet there they were, 97 documents marked with Council Intelligence Directorate seals, flashing urgent priority indicators designed to bypass security filters. Captain Terran's first instinct was deletion. Standard counterintelligence drills covered compromised transmissions. His fingers hovered over the purge command when Nex noticed the authentication markers. Each document bore valid verification codes from High Minister Kroll's own office. The date stretched back 43 standard cycles. Directive 17 opened with clinical clarity. Preventative measures regarding uplifted species designation. Earth-originated, Homo sapiens. Subcategory markers listed policy branches for technological suppression, economic restrictions, and something called behavioral conditioning through controlled resource environments. The language bore all the bureaucratic hallmarks of council policymaking. Dry, terminology masking radical interventions. Lieutenant Zell isolated Section 9 first. Human-developed AI research poses unacceptable contamination, risks to standardized galactic neural architectures. Attached. Manifest showed 87 intercepted. Shipments of computer components bound for human colonies. The listed justification: potential technology mismatch violations. The parts weren't dangerous. They were simply better than what the Council authorized for human use. Nex's scanner pinged as she reached the appendices. Hidden beneath standard diplomatic transcripts lay chilling addendums. Recommendation 17.4. Implement selective breeding programs via controlled mate pairing in mining colonies. Reeves had highlighted one particular passage. This will mitigate undesirable evolutionary traits including hyper-competitive behavior and nonlinear problem-solving. The bridge displays flickered as Reeves patched through live feed. He sat calmly in what appeared to be a standard council library pod. Behind him, rows of data crystals glinted, all stamped with Directive 17 revision codes. Funny thing about suppressed technology, he remarked, holding up a pulse regulator plainly labeled human use forbidden. Once you realize it exists, you get very motivated to find out why they didn't want you to have it. Officer Vex cross-referenced the documents with patrol databases. Every system search came back verified. Production quotas matched restricted equipment manifests. Colony development plans aligned perfectly with population control measures. The evidence wasn't circumstantial. It formed an interlocking system of constraints documented in meticulous council detail. Terran attempted to contact command. All channels returned the same automated response. Secure uplink unavailable pending directive compliance verification. Standard procedure when dealing with classified material. The irony wasn't lost on Nex. The very protocols designed to protect council secrets now prevented their rebuttal. Section 22 provided the operational context for their mission. Human test subjects demonstrating ability to repurpose restricted technology require immediate containment. A list of 17 prior incidents scrolled past, each describing humans modifying equipment beyond intended parameters. Reeves's file appeared third. Subject R-177 modified mining explosives into long-range propulsion units using only scrap metal and coolant fluids. Ventilation control became his second weapon. Standard procedures taught officers to follow air current patterns when tracking biological targets. Reeves rewrote the rules. 47 individual ducts received custom airflow directives. Some blew stale warmth to simulate body heat. Others pulled air violently downward to mask his actual movement signature. The patrol split to cover more ground, trusting their dispersion tactics. They failed to recognize how each new position played into his ventilation trap. Isolated officers stood directly beneath ducts capable of flood-filling compartments with anesthetic gas in 12 seconds flat. Power grid manipulation completed the illusion of dominance. Patrol scanners registered a single human presence because Reeves actively maintained that fiction. He'd bypassed primary generators to route energy through 12 tertiary nodes. Each time a patrol team approached one, it shut down while another flared to life 3 compartments away. The effect created perfect chasing behavior, officers dashing from fading signal to fresh one like predators following blood trails. Only these trails led through chambers where floor plating had been strategically weakened. Materials played their part. Standard Durasteel bulkheads made poor amplifiers for sound propagation. Reeves had jury-rigged resonance chambers using mining. Equipment. Certain corridors now carried whispers across 60 meters while others swallowed shouts whole. Patrol members 3 compartments apart couldn't hear each other's weapons fire. But Reeves could hear them all through repurposed seismic sensors embedded in structural braces. The brilliance wasn't in any single system. It was in the cascading interactions. When Team Gamma disabled a power relay, they unknowingly activated backup lighting along Reeves' escape routes. When Team Epsilon sealed a breached gas line, they diverted pressure to auxiliary tanks primed to flood their own fallback positions. The facility responded to patrol actions not with resistance, but with choreographed consequences. Storage Base C9 demonstrated his psychological approach. Patrol members found one wall covered in galactic tactical manuals, each page detailing pursuit protocols for various species. Human sections had been meticulously annotated. Margin notes highlighted predictable breach patterns, standard sweep intervals, even statistical probabilities of officers checking certain compartments first. Nearby sat a dismantled patrol helmet displaying real-time tracker feeds. The unspoken message cut deeper than threats. He'd studied them better than they'd studied him. 17 minutes into the operation, Lieutenant Zell noted a pattern no superior officer wanted to acknowledge. Every patrol team remained technically mobile. None were injured or restrained. Yet their effective search radius kept shrinking as Reeves systematically eliminated retreat options. Bulkhead doors sealed not to trap, but to herd. Gas vents activated not to kill, but to displace. The facility wasn't a cage. It was a maze with walls that moved according to the human's unseen design. Critical realization came via thermal scans. Officer Vex's squad pinned Reeves in Junction M7 according to their readings. 3 converging teams arrived to find heating coils wired to mimic human biometrics. The actual heat source came from 80 meters above. Reeves had repurposed solar concentrators to beam false signatures through vent shafts. His physical location didn't matter. He'd turned the entire facility into his avatar. Status update, the squad leader demanded over crackling comms. 12 separate feeds showed officers maneuvering through different sectors. Each believed they pursued concrete evidence of Reeves's position. The squad leader's display told the true story. Blue dots representing patrol members clustered in 3 zones. Between them stretched perfect corridors of unmonitored space, allowing unhindered movement. Reeves wasn't hiding between the hunters. He was herding them into position. Final confirmation came at the 43-minute mark. Patrol members had noted scattered maintenance panels removed throughout the facility. Standard inspection would have revealed their significance. Each, service junction-controlled ancillary systems like emergency lighting or compartmentalized fire suppression. Viewed together, they formed a networked kill switch for 12 specific chambers currently housing every patrol officer. A single transmission cut through encrypted channels without warning. "You brought 12 officers," Reeves observed. Static distorted his next words. "Should have brought 12 facilities." Then all power died simultaneously across 40 square kilometers. Dark didn't begin to describe it. Total electromagnetic cessation created blackness so absolute it registered as sensory deprivation. Patrol helmet displays didn't merely shut off. Their active components emitted negative luminescence, making the void somehow deeper. Thermal scans later revealed what happened during those 94 seconds. While 12 officers stood frozen, in protocol-mandated lockdown stances, a single heat signature moved freely through what should have been monitored corridors, not running, not sneaking, walking with the measured pace of someone who'd memorized every surface in absolute darkness. Light returned in abrupt stages. First came the dim crimson of reactivated emergency strips, standard procedure during critical power failures. Except these illuminated only selected passages, forming a spiral path toward the central hub. Patrol members instinctively followed the lit route, weapons ready. None noticed how the lighting sequence steered them perfectly around 12 recently emplaced seismic charges. The facility's comm array crackled with reactivation feedback. Then Reeves's voice, calm as orbital sunrise. "There's one human in this facility. Your mistake was assuming that limited me to operating one body." For the first time, patrol scanners accessed unaltered systems. The readout showed a single biological signature in central control. What the display didn't reveal was how many automated systems now answered to that signature. Panic started when the outer airlock cycled without orders. Then, interior blast. Doors began sequencing on timers no patrol override could interrupt. Environmental controls whined to life, pressurizing compartments in precise 10-second intervals. Every action followed galactic patrol manual specifications for full facility lockdowns. Reeves hadn't stolen command codes. He'd weaponized standard operating procedures against their creators. Officer Nex reached central control first. The door hissed open to reveal Reeves seated calmly before a master systems panel. 12 smaller screens ringed the chamber, each displaying live feeds of different patrol teams. His hands rested lightly on manual override levers for life support, artificial gravity, and radiation shielding, none of which concerned Nex as much as the mining detonator in his other hand, thumb resting beside the activator. "Your scanner shows one human," he noted without turning. "Better question. How many facility systems currently count as my prosthetic? Nervous system?" External monitors flickered to display the answer. 47 separate critical functions under his direct control via jury-rigged interfaces. The patrol's tactical assessment faced irreversible revision. The human wasn't inside the facility. The facility had become an extension of the human. Nex's stolen glance toward emergency transponder controls earned a dry chuckle. "Signal your ship if you want," Reeves offered. "But I've been chatting with your engineer for 20 minutes. Main screen switched to display the patrol dropship's engine schematic, specifically its fuel line pressure regulators now cycling through impossible configurations. Final realization struck as Nex's HUD updated. The patrol had entered expecting to hunt a fugitive hiding in an abandoned facility. Instead, they'd spent 52 minutes playing hide-and-seek with an adversary who considered architecture just another limb to wield. Every sealed door, every diverted power flow, every manipulated air current hadn't been obstacles. They were deliberate demonstrations of how thoroughly Reeves controlled the engagement space. 3 decks below, Lieutenant Zell found the master control terminal for facility security. Or what remained of it. The console had been stripped to its frame, leaving only a handwritten note taped to the housing. "Looking for the trap? You're standing in it." Above the text, someone had sketched a rough map showing 12 patrol positions relative to structural support columns. The Galactic Patrol sent their most elite squad to capture a single human fugitive. They expected a straightforward hunt. What they got was a masterclass in tactical humiliation. Officer Zaldra Nex's warning. Humans didn't evolve on a planet that wanted to kill them every second by being predictable, proved devastatingly accurate. By the time the lights went out and comms went silent, the hunters realized their fatal mistake. They weren't chasing prey. They'd walked into a trap designed by a death worlder. The Galactic Patrol deployed 12 tactical officers for the bounty retrieval mission. Standard procedure dictated 3 operatives maximum for non-lethal captures, but humans weren't standard. The squad commander dismissed the discrepancy with a flick of his mandibles. What threat could one soft-skinned primate pose against their training and tech? Officer Nex had studied human conflict histories during xenocultural rotations. She watched the pre-mission holo readouts with mounting unease. Their scanners showed a single heat signature in the asteroid mining facility. Too obvious. When she voiced concerns at the briefing, 3 senior officers clicked their amusement receptors. "Show us where they hid an armada in there," the squad leader challenged, pointing at the facility schematics. The patrol's confidence wasn't unfounded. Their record showed flawless apprehensions across 17 systems, Voltic shock collars, worked on Solarian neural clusters, Gravic pulse nets could entangle a charging Morgath. Every species had exploitable weaknesses. Humans just required slightly modified parameters, or so the tactical manuals claimed. Comms check occurred at 50 clicks from the facility. 12 green lights winked back to command. The squad leader ran the final approach drill he'd used on 47 prior operations. Breach teams at airlocks Beta and Gamma, snipers covering exterior sight lines, drone sweeps preceding each advance. Textbook execution. Right up until the moment every external light on the facility went dark. Nex felt her carapace prickle before the first system alert flashed. Their scanners still showed just one human inside, but the facility's power grid was suddenly drawing enough energy to melt durasteel. The patrol's overrides failed. Environmental controls locked out. When the first team crossed threshold, the airlock cycled shut behind them. Not a malfunction, a controlled isolation. The briefing hadn't covered human behavior in enclosed spaces. Not the way they weaponized bulkheads and oxygen levels. Not how they treated structures less like shelters and more like extensions of their own predatory instincts. The patrol's scanners kept insisting one human presence. Their burning eyes told a different story. Every shadowed corridor, every silent vent now held potential teeth. Nex toggled her comm. He's not hiding from us. Static crackled back. Somewhere in the facility, life support systems whined into reverse cycle. The squad leader finally understood his mistake when the first oxygen alarm sounded. You don't corner, something that evolved in places where every retreat meant death. Darkness spread through the facility like spilled ink. The patrol's helmet lights reflected off freshly closed blast doors at every junction. Their scanners still showed one life form. One, laughably outnumbered. Right up until the ventilation, shafts began pumping sleep gas through 14 precisely calculated ingress points. The human wasn't surrounded. They were. By the time Nex's team reached what should have been the central control hub, they found it stripped bare. Just one active console blinking an emergency power reserve counter. 9 minutes remaining. Left. Beside it, a single outdated Galactic Patrol Operations Manual. The page detailing recommended squad sizes for hostile environment engagements had been circled. In what appeared to be human blood, 12 against 1. Those should have been acceptable odds. Unless the one had spent his life surviving in places where the environment constantly cheated. Humans didn't fight fair because their planet never did. The facility's comrade crackled alive as the patrol regrouped. The voice that followed wasn't the fearful whimpering of a cornered fugitive. It carried the calm of something that knew exactly how many ways it could hurt you. You brought 12, it said. That's cute. Lights died across the entire facility. For the first time in Galactic Patrol history, 12 trained operatives found themselves outnumbered by a single target. Not because he'd summoned reinforcements, because he'd turned their own tactics into a taunt. The asteroid's rotation would bring sunrise in 47 minutes. None of them could see the mechanism he'd jury-rigged from mining charges along the eastern solar array. But they'd feel it soon enough. Nex checked her seals as temperature gauges plummeted. The human wasn't just hiding. He'd converted the entire structure into a weapon that treated Galactic Patrol protocols like a step-by-step manual for his amusement. Behind her, 3 officers struggled to pry open doors that shouldn't have locked. The manual had called humans clever. Clever implied they had limits. A proximity alert flashed. Their dropship's auto-defenses had activated without orders. The feed showed 7 small projectiles, likely debris, streaking toward its engines. Except human-piloted vessels didn't jettison random debris, especially not shaped like remote detonation packs. The squad leader finally authorized lethal protocols. 15 seconds too late. Facility schematics reappeared on their HUDs with 14 new annotations. Each marked a structural weak point the patrol had positioned themselves directly beneath. The lone heat signature hadn't moved from the control hub, but the mining charges certainly had. Nex saw the strategy too late. He hadn't needed to outgun them. Just outthink. Every piece of equipment they carried, the shock prods, the grav nets, the neural disruptors, relied on predictable reactions. Humans treated predictability as an exploitable flaw. When the first explosion rocked the eastern solar array, the shockwave traveled through 12 carefully weakened support beams in perfect sequence. 12 officers trapped in a structure now collapsing in calculated increments. Not random destruction, the human equivalent of setting a metronome before a concert. Somewhere in the facility he was probably counting down, not seconds until their rescue, just seeing how many structural dominoes his hunters would trigger before admitting they'd lost. The patrol had entered thinking they faced one organism. Nex finally understood. They'd stepped inside the Predator's extended nervous system. Every conduit, every panel now served as sensory input feeding back to that single heat signature. Their scanners still showed one human. Their shredded tactics told the real story. 30 meters away, a terminal flared to life. Facility schematics reappeared, now with 12 pulsing dots marking their exact positions. A final notation flashed. Beneath the image, you left your tactical uplink active. Might want to fix that. Static filled the comm channels. Then a single phrase in that impossibly calm voice. "Sleep tight." The gas vents hissed open simultaneously. The last thing Nex saw before neural inhibitors took effect was the dropship, feed. 7 projectile trajectories intersecting perfectly with its fuel lines. Not debris. Never debris. The facility was never just a location. It became the first tactical asset Reeves employed against his pursuers. Standard galactic mining outposts followed predictable layouts: central hub with radial corridors, maintenance, shafts color-coded by function, emergency lighting that activated during power failures. The patrol had memorized these patterns across hundreds of raids. That familiarity became their critical vulnerability. Reeves didn't redesign the facility. He reimagined its purpose. Every system, from atmospheric processors to waste reclamation, held combat potential. The patrol entered through Airlock 4 expecting dimly lit corridors leading to a control center. Instead, they found 90-degree turns where schematics predicted straight passages. Junction markers had been rotated 180 degrees. Elevation indicators lied. First contact occurred in Sector G12. Patrol Team Alpha breached expecting empty storage bays. They found stripped conduits rerouting power away from their scanners. 5 steps inside, magnetic locks engaged behind them with a finality no override code could crack. Thermal readings suggested Reeves waited 15 meters ahead around a corner. Patrol protocol dictated flanking maneuvers through parallel corridors. Except the corridor maps were dated. Reeves had welded shut 3 key connecting passages during silent hours. Team Bravo encountered the environmental trap. Life support systems cycled oxygen levels with precision no automatic failsafe would allow. CO2 scrubbers reversed flow, dumping reclaimed carbon dioxide into selected chambers. The patrol's helmets could compensate for exactly 47 minutes according to their emergency reserves. Reeves knew this. His adjustments weren't about suffocation. They were about forcing controlled oxygen rationing before the real resource war began.